Maritime Made on Eastlink is presented by Nova Scotia Business Inc., helping companies large and small grow through export.
The Halifax operation of P&H Milling receives a variety of types of wheat from the Canadian Prairies, Ontario, and within the Maritimes. The wheat is delivered by ship as well as by train and is stored in the Halifax grain elevator on the Halifax waterfront. Here, the mill stores about 27,000 metric tons of wheat at any one time.
We receive our wheat in three different ways. We could receive our wheat by truck, which comes from sometimes local wheat, PEI, and so on, the PEI elevators. We receive it by rail or vessel. And by rail or vessel, primarily the wheat comes from the prairies.
Once the mill is ready to process the wheat, it's transported through a large blower line directly to the flour mill. Before being milled, the wheat needs to be cleaned of debris such as wheat stalks, sticks, and rocks that may have been picked up during harvesting. The horizontal drum separator removes these large foreign materials. Once processed, the wheat is stored in one of 5 dirty wheat bins until it's needed. Each of these giant bins holds about 65 metric tons. P&H processes many types of wheat and will often mix them together in order to create specific types of flour, such as all-purpose flour or baking flour for cakes. They can even create custom flour for specific client needs.
P&H Milling supplies about 85% of the flour for all baked goods in Atlantic Canada. We provide in different formats, so bags and totes to commercial bakeries, supermarkets, restaurants, and tankers to large industrial bakeries. In 1968, we started our first production run under Dover Flour Industries, and in 2009, we were purchased by Parrish and Heimbecker. Parrish and Heimbecker is a family-run business, and the two families operate the largest independent flour milling company in Canada.
P&H uses gravity and forced air suction to keep the wheat moving throughout the mill, which means workers need to walk up a lot of stairs. Or, if they're properly trained, they can use this elevator. Once the required wheat is combined, it travels by elevator to the combi cleaner. This is where the serious cleaning happens. The combi cleaner uses a multi-tier system of filters and vibration to remove rocks and other large particles, as well as smaller particles such as dust and chaff. This machine is called a color separator. Once fully installed, it will be able to optically sort the good wheat from the defective wheat, as well as unwanted wild oats and soy using high-speed cameras. Now that the wheat has been cleaned and sorted, it moves back up to the top floor of the mill to be tempered. This moisture analyzer analyzes and adds water to the wheat in order for it to reach its ideal moisture content level of 15%. The process of adding moisture is called tempering and helps the kernel separate more easily during the milling process. Once the water is added, the wheat is stored for 8 to 24 hours until it has fully tempered. The cleaned and tempered wheat is now ready for milling. The first stage is called the first crack. This is where the kernel is opened using 2 large rollers. Here, the endosperm, which will become the flour, is removed from the bran, or outer layer. Once the wheat kernel is cracked open, it leaves the milling machine and is transported by a pneumatic lift back up to the top floor. Once it reaches the top floor, the wheat stalk enters a series of cyclones and airlocks to remove the air from the wheat. It then travels down to the sifters. These giant sifters use sieves to separate the cracked wheat pieces by size. From the sifters, the wheat is sent to the purifiers. Using air to remove lighter particles, the purifier will separate the lighter bran and germ from the endosperm. Once sieved and purified, the wheat travels back down to the mill to be processed further. The wheat moves through this process about 22 times, slowly removing all the endosperm from the other elements of the wheat kernel. This process of grinding, sifting, and purifying will separate the wheat kernel into its 3 main components: the bran, the flour, and the germ. All three will be sold for human consumption. The remaining byproducts will be used for animal feed. Every part of the wheat kernel is used. The goal of all these pass-throughs is to extract as much quality flour as possible. Once the process is complete, the flour is treated with vitamins and minerals that can be lost in the removal of the bran and germ. At this point, the wheat is also ready for quality control testing. These tests ensure the correct levels of protein, moisture, and ash. The incoming wheat is also tested in the lab for quality and disease contamination before it's processed in the mill. Once the flour has been milled and passed quality control, it's time for packaging and shipping. Large-scale customers in the Maritimes receive their flour by the truckload. Specialized trucks are filled with flour and shipped directly to the customer. Other customers receive their flour in large totes. These totes can hold 1,000 kilograms of flour or more and are filled one at a time before being shipped to customers as far away as Jordan, Puerto Rico, and Iceland. Smaller 20-kilogram bags are prepared on this automated packing line. Robotic arms use suction to lift the empty bags. Each bag has a hole in one corner that is placed on a filling nozzle. A metal plate then vibrates the bag as it's filled with flour to ensure the bag fills correctly. Each bag is weighed at various points in the process to ensure the correct amount of flour is in each bag. Once full, the corner of the bag is glued and taped closed. It then makes its way through the metal detector. Metal detectors are used throughout the processing to ensure no metal makes its way to the final product. If any metal is detected at this stage, the bag is quickly removed from the bagging line. Finally, a robotic arm places the bags of flour gently onto a pallet, which is then wrapped in plastic and shipped to customers.
Milling is all about efficiencies. We're looking at standardizing across the country. We have national flour specs right now, so that you can get, if you purchase flour from us in Halifax or in Quebec or in Saskatoon, it's the same flour, and so our customers can really rely on the consistency of the product. We are always investing in our organization, and since Parrish & Heimbecker is a private company, we fully fund all of our investments. We've just put in a new flour mill in Hamilton, Ontario, and here in Halifax, we're looking at possibly expanding our warehouse so that we could be faster to market.